Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the data you've never been shown before. Some of you know maybe bits and pieces about industry wide data, but I have the man here himself who is very involved in these key metrics. And you're going to hear where he comes from, how he knows this data, and why it's going to be important for you in the coming months as we run our businesses in a 2026 economy. We have the one and only Alain Audet here, joining us from Montreal, Canada. And he is a distinguished leader, educator, and strategist with over 20 years of experience at the intersection of professional beauty and luxury retail. Often described as the beauty industry's lifer, Alain has dedicated his career to elevating the business standards of salons and spas across North America. He currently serves as the VP of Sales and Marketing for Salon Interactive and the Kim Report. Kim, I knew as key industry metrics, but also knowledge is money, where he helps beauty professionals leverage data driven insights and e commerce solutions to modernize the client experience and maximize profitability. Wait till you hear his industry journey. Without further ado, help me welcome Alain Audet. Welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. It's always amazing to have the opportunity to speak to different audiences and get to know you as well more.
I
So thank you
know.
very much.
Whenever I see you, and for everybody listening, if you click on our show notes, you can watch today's conversation on our YouTube channel. I think it's so fun to see the faces behind the names. And whenever I run into Elaine, he is literally one of the best dressed human beings I see at the events and just very well manicured. I don't know how else to say, but he just takes good care of himself and appreciates luxury, the finer things, and just being well groomed. So those are little things that I've noticed about you. But I want to go back to the beginning. You've been in the industry, well, you have 20 years of experience, but where did that start for you? How did you get involved in the beauty industry to begin with?
Well, I say 20 years of experience because people stop counting after 20. Okay. So that's why the expression the lifer, if you want. Okay. My background is beauty and fashion since day one. So graduated high school, went to work. I was in the restaurant industry. My parent owned a restaurant. Then I ended up working more into helping a friend of mine in a hair salon while I was teaching in marketing in the fashion school. So I have a bachelor degree in mass communication, and then I actually got myself an MBA in strategic marketing. So that together brought me into fashion and brought me into beauty. At one point, I decided that I wanted to be a makeup artist, so I took a full makeup artist class. I work as a makeup artist in department stores. Then I ended up working as a colorist in a hair salon, helping a friend, and I did that for a year and a half. And then I ended up moving overseas to Singapore, um, teaching and managing a fashion merchandising school. 5 years, 3 years afterwards, they say, okay, you're going back to Montreal. And I was not ready to go back to Montreal. So I quit the whole education and went to work for Club 21, which is a luxury retailer. So suddenly I was in charge of the buying team for brands like Armani, Donna Karan, Calvin Klein, Prada. And so did that for 5 years afterwards, stayed in Asia for 5 years until I came back to Canada.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
where did you get this just abundance of curiosity and courage to live in other cultures and just let's go off, let's explore? Where did that piece of your life come from?
Uh, I think it's just being adventurous. It's just being open to the unknown. Interestingly, they offered me to move to Singapore when they first opened the school there, to go there as a teacher. And I told the school, well, why would I do that? I'm already a teacher here, so what do I gain by going there and doing the exact same thing? So I was like, no, and I was not ready. 2 years later, they say, okay, now is the position of the head of the department that's open, and we want you to go. and you're going in 6 weeks.
No if, ands, or buts about it.
So I was like, okay, I'm going. So sold everything, packed two suitcases, and moved halfway across the world with really two suitcases. That's it. And rearrange my life entirely
Wow.
in new experiments, new experiences, new everything. I mean, everything was new. So that was great. And I did that, from there on, it was just like, you have to embrace what's presented to you, never look back, and there's multiple doors. You pick one. And once you're in there, then the new doors are going to open, and then you just keep moving. You don't look back. You don't try to retreat. You just keep going. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like what I've done.
From there, what was the next door that opened up for you that you felt was most aligned with your natural gifts?
Well, it's when I got that offer to become the head buyer. I didn't know why until I was there. That was interesting. I mean, I don't think I've ever told that story on a podcast, but I had a dream, which is very weird. Okay. I had a dream that I was going into a place, and going into that place, somebody would send me into the back room, and I would get into the back room and onto there was shelves, and there was like four different cubes of color, looked like a cover of a magazine, a fashion magazine. And then I turn around and go back to the door, and the store is different. Then I go out on the street, and the street is different. I'm no longer at the same place. So the next day, I'm at the hair salon, and I'm telling that story to one woman who's kind of like a faith healer slash palm reader and whatever. And she's like, "Oh, this is clear." She says, "This is your unconscious telling you that you have a decision to make, and this is going to change the way you look at world, your life, and everything." And she says, "And were you stressed?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Your decision is made. Someone is offering you something that's changing your life, and you should take it."
I literally have
So,
goosebumps. I do right now. And that's because the subconscious mind is always at work on our behalf and we don't really realize it. So you were open to something so new and different, and it turned out to be amazing.
yeah.
How did that transition? And of course, this has to speak to your great sense of fashion. And just when somebody wears a suit, it's one thing. When they wear a suit that's fitting them properly, it's another. And now you probably see that in everybody everywhere. But you then collide with the beauty industry even more. How did that come about?
Well, there was always an interest. So fashion was one thing, and
Yeah.
then being in a fashion school, of course, I mean, everything that has to do with fashion, I mean, it's all about the fashion show, and it's about the photo shoots, and it's about the retail, it's about the displays, it's about the presentation. So it's all part of that. So all of that put together. So come back to Canada, work for Paris Jeans, and then I applied to L'Oreal. I applied L'Oreal for a job in education, arrived there at the first interview, and they say, "We know you applied for a job at this brand for an educator. We'd like to talk to you about something else. Because of your background in beauty, but especially your background in luxury fashion and luxury retail, we're launching Kerastase in Canada and would like to interview you for that position."
Oh,
That was my entry in professional beauty, really as a professional, so all that where this job came about, I said yes, and I launched Kerastase in Canada.
that is so interesting. And when in the timeline is this about? When did that launch? What year?
June 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what did that experience teach you that has prepared you for what you're doing today?
Well, first it was, we're going back 26 years now. Okay.
Yeah.
There was no luxury brand in retail. Salons were not retailing that much. They were retailing, there was a few brands really that were performing at retail, but there was not that many. And when I started there, I'm like, oh, let's look at, sales data, figures, numbers, and everything to realize that this is a paper industry, that the appointment book is a book, and that the transactions are mostly manual. So there's very little data available. So the size of a salon, so I had to figure out, in order to be able to build this brand, we had to figure out what is the potential of a salon? So came up with, okay, let's figure out a hairdresser, a full-time hairdresser. How much money can that person can actually make? How many customers do they see in a week? So sat down and look at books in many of the salons. Okay, well, this book and the average seems to be about 15 clients a week, and they spend about 30 hours, and then this is the revenue that they make, and trying to figure out the retail that they're making. And then, okay, well, because of this amount of customers you have, that would be maybe possible for you to sell so much retail and convince them to put the most expensive shampoo on their shelves and then start to teach people how to retail and how to actually present this even before retailing and how to do consultation and how to actually utilize the product properly and how to converse with the clients on the purpose and the why they're using this product and why a client should continue using it. And then from there, retailing the product and then ensuring that the salons were always stocked.
Mm.
I remember one time there was one salon where there was one product that was selling out every time I would go in there. And back then I would go into the salon every 2 weeks to take the orders, it was manual orders. Okay. And I was like, okay, you're sold out again. When did you sell out? She's like, I don't know. So we used to put 12. Every time I would go, I would order 12. I was like, okay, this time I'm putting 24 in the order. She's like, oh, Alain, this is crazy. I said, well, we don't know what's your capacity. We don't know what potential you have. So let's put 24 on the shelf. And when I come back in 2 weeks, we'll see and we'll start adjusting. I come back in 2 weeks, she's sold out again.
Hold on.
So I was like, well, let's try 48. So
Did
we
she sell
found
out
out that she was
again?
able to sell 43, 44 products of this specific SKU every 2 weeks by making sure it was always on the shelf because that was the thing. I mean, the moment it's not on the shelf, this is the excuse that any service provider needs to stop retailing something because I've done all the work. I take my customer to the shelf, it's not there. You know, then client is not going
Yep.
to come back in 2, 3 days, and this is before you could tell the clients, well, you can buy it on my online store. It will be shipped to you tomorrow, or you can pick it up here at the salon. All the ways that we can actually retail today, back then it was just one way. You come and pick it up here at the salon, So that was kind of like, how do we figure out the potential? But then coming from retail, we had data. I arrived there and we have no data. So that's been my quest for the tw last 20 some years, trying to figure out, how can we get salon data, proper salon data.
It sounds like you put the groundwork together to ensure ongoing success for every party involved. And I think that is really cool. Especially like you said, there really weren't luxury products fully on the market at this point. And also, were you responsible for other, I guess, team members who were out doing what you were doing and visiting salons every
Yeah.
2 weeks in person? Okay,
Yes.
so I didn't know, if you covered all of Canada and you're like on the road every day, um, or if you had a team under you, and did you also simultaneously lead and help grow them up?
Well, we built the team gradually. It didn't start with a team. It was really an upstart. So we were two people and we were covering Quebec and Ontario, two provinces or two states if you're listening in the States. And at the same time, Kerastase was doing the exact same thing in the United States. So we were working the same way
Same.
simultaneously in the two countries, but independently. Because US had their strategy for the US market, Canada, we had our own strategy, but it was a global strategy of upscale luxury retail products.
How neat is that? And to come full circle to now there are point of sales that help with the inventory. Do you see in today's market that we're still not stocking the shelves as strategically as we could be? Is this a matter of having the tool like a Salon Interactive in your back pocket if you do run out? What are some of the things that you're noticing in today's market for salons and spas that carry great products like Kerastase? Like, what could we be doing different or more of, or just more strategically, do you think?
Well, Salon Interactive is not going to help you managing your inventory in the salon because we're not, this is not what we do. Your software, whatever platform you're using, there's hundreds of platform out there. There's a dozen very well known that are doing very, very well. In every single software platform, there's an inventory management section, all of them.
Mhm.
And no matter what, I mean, it's very basic. I mean, you need to actually put in your products, you need to put in your mins and your max and understand which way your platform is actually using, because some platform reorder to the max and some platform will only reorder when it triggers at the min. So you need to understand that in your platform. And once you've set up your mins and your max, you just have to make sure that you adjust them based on your volume, so that you're not overstocking some products and you're not understocking some others, and understanding also the seasonality. So you may have to adjust your mins and your max because winter you will sell more of the heavy face cream, for example, or maybe more of the hair oils and stuff like that, versus in the summer where you're going to put the sun protection. And so the product assortment is slightly different seasonally and depending where you are also in North America. You know, if you're a very humid climate, you will have a different assortment than if you're a dry climate. So all of that put together, there's no magic formula, but the tools are there. You just have to really take the time to understand the tool you have. You know,
And
Salon
speaking of,
Interactive, what
yeah,
we do is we gather that information and we put it together to get national and regional and by cohort level kind of reporting. But we're not helping a salon one by one to manage their inventory. This is really at the your salon software platform level. Yeah.
where you help is looking at retail trends and even service trends. So let's dive into this tool, Salon Interactive, and the only platform in our entire industry to produce these key metric reports based on the data of all sorts of brands. Tell us a bit about Salon Interactive and why this specific report is going to help elevate salon and spa businesses.
So I will here separate two things. Salon Interactive is the mother company. Okay.
Okay.
So Salon Interactive has multiple products if you want. Okay. So Kim Report is one product. In Salon Interactive, there's one product called Salon Interactive. Sounds like some big companies out there where they have many brands, but one brand is also repeated as one of their top products. So Salon Interactive per se, this is our e-commerce platform. So Salon would know Salon Interactive because when they sign up with Salon Interactive, what they do is they create their e-commerce store, which is free for the salons, and they pick the brands that they want to represent on their e-commerce store and attach them to the distributor. Automatically they have a store. They just communicate that store to their customers, either with a QR code on their mirror, either they can promote, to them, to bring them to this store. They can do product recommendation after the client leaves. They can connect that to with the client, and the client buys the product. But when they buy the product, they buy it actually from the store. It's the store platform. Salon Interactive is not visible to the consumer. The store is Blue Hair Salon, wherever. I use Blue Hair because I don't think there's a salon called Blue Hair. Uh, so Blue Hair Salon, and this is who I'm shopping from. And is the Katie working at Blue Hair Salon? I'm shopping from Katie at Blue Hair Salon. Okay. And I'm picking the products that I want that are part of this. It's not all the products, but most of the products are in there. And then based on the distributors who you work with, the distributor is the one shipping the goods to your customers directly, but you get your commission. So the salon doesn't have to make sure that they have the stock on shelf, that they have the box, packing the box and shipping the box to the customers and all of this and managing the transaction and managing the credit card. All of that is done for you through your platform at Salon Interactive. So all of that put together, this is what people, when they think of Salon Interactive, and if you go to Salon Interactive, this is what you'll find.
Yeah.
Okay. What we're talking about today a lot about is the Kim report. And the Kim report is managed by or powered by Salon Interactive. And the Kim report is actually data. It consolidates data from currently 7 different software platforms that is all anonymized data. So we don't know which salon the data is coming from. We don't know the name of the salon. We don't know the name of the service providers. We don't have any personal information at all.
Mhm.
All we know, it's a salon that has that is one of the cohorts. So let's say a 5 to 9 service providers, not the amount of chairs, but the amount of service providers or columns, if you want, in their software. So we know this is a salon that has between 5 and 9 service providers. It's been with the same software platform for a minimum of 24 months. And this is how this data gets accumulated. So currently, we follow, if you want, 10,785 businesses, ranging from a solo all the way to a 20 plus service providers. So there might be a salon in there that has 60 service providers. And the data we are following, even though some of those salons may be multi-service salons, it could be salon and spas and salon and medical spa and all that. We're following the salon transactions currently. We'll expand to more because I know your audience, there's salon and spas and medical spas. So we're following the data pertaining to salon business currently. But we will expand into more and more of the cosmetology world in the next months to years. So the Kim report currently is a subscription-based tool that was originally designed for the manufacturers, for them to help the manufacturers to understand where the business is going. Because you have to understand that they plan their product launches 18 to 36 months in advance.
Mm.
They plan their market 18 to 36 months in advance. So right now they're working on 2028 and 2029 already. Whatever is going to happen in 2026 is already decided. Okay, it's already in their
Yep.
production or it's already on the boat. Getting your Christmas package for this year, they're ordered already. Okay. So they need to know because very quickly, what are we doing for the next Christmas? They need to know how their Christmas sets have actually done this year in order to firm up these orders. They want to know the trends. They want to know if the salons are actually going up or down. Is the industry on the way up? Is the industry on the way down? And how can I help, with my product, with my services, with my education? So what is needed? What is happening right now? So for example, what we know 2025, we know that the American and the Kim report follows only US based salons at this point.
Okay.
Okay. So uh, we know that the industry has gone up by 1.1%. This is the average revenue overall of the industry. We know that the average transaction has gone up by about 2.6%. But at the same time, we know that retail has dropped by 5%, roughly. We know that there's less in-salon visits, less customers, less visits. So the revenue is actually generated by less people. So we generated more revenue, we increased our prices, but we have less customers.
Mm.
And these customers don't come as often as they used to. So all of that together is important to understand now because for the salons on average and for the manufacturers, like, okay, how do we help the salons now increase their transaction value? But not just increase the prices, increase the value in add-on services. Is that really a viable trend, all those scalp services? Is that a trend? Is it viable? And what is it replacing? Is that something that we should get on the bandwagon with? Is that the right place to go? If the color services are actually the price is going up, but there's less color services, so what's happening? Which client base am I losing in my numbers? So we don't have all the data, we don't know everything, but we can see currently we can see a lot of the trends, where the industry is going. And what I told you for 2025, I've seen the results for January and February, and we're still going in the same direction. So we're still going in the same. The salons are doing slightly better in terms of revenue, but with less customers and less transactions. So is that going to make the salon more profitable? Profitable? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Depending of the salon, depending of your management, depending of your structure, depending of how you operate. So this is kind of like what the Kim report is highlighting and presenting. So this is where it was created. Now, for the salons to get access, any type of access to the Kim report. So currently, we're doing like I'm doing right now. We're talking to different podcasts. We are publishing some numbers through the PBA, as well as some numbers are presented on a monthly basis. We just started that in Salon Today magazine. So we will drip more and more of that information. And our goal is at some point later on this year that the salons will be able to have access to at least a report that will be based on their demographics and their salon size. So that's something that we're working on. It's just not ready. We're not at that right place yet, but it's coming.
What do you feel is the biggest threat to salon and spa businesses right now, but also what could be our biggest opportunity?
I think it's being very intentional with your pricing structure. There's a lot of conversations on social media now about increasing your prices, and not being afraid to increase your prices. And I agree 100% that your price should actually be reflecting the business that you have, but it needs to be consistent. And I sometimes look at the restaurant industry. You know, there a lot of talk about how in the restaurant industry, the quick service restaurant versus the sit down restaurants and the luxury restaurants, how the middle is being squished. I think for the salon is really to understand, I mean, which direction is the right direction for you? Can you keep going up in prices and up in luxury and up in quality of service and being more an experience for your customers? Or is your clientele and your market environment is price point driven and you're outpricing yourself? Do you have an opportunity with a different type or more dynamic pricing, maybe, or something like that? So I think this is kind of like a conversation that that people will have, in the next 12 to 18 months, because I think we are like on the verge of something different in the salon industry.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I kind of joked when you talked about color services going down, even though the prices are going up. Um, I was joking like it's not our threat are the young, new up and comer alpha generation who watches everything on YouTube and then they can just practice and do it themselves or for each other because technology has created this opportunity to learn at an exponential rate much quicker. And we're seeing that in our pros. So our young pros come on and they're able to move onto the floor much quicker than they have in years past. So they would be in a maybe a tutelage for 12 to 24 months before they were allowed to be on the floor. And this is
Yeah.
all shifted. But essentially what I agree with is that if your prices go up, so does the quality of that experience because the perceived value is going to make or break if you're going to see that return clientele. And so you're right. You either have to decide the middle is the messy where things are just the wild west and there's a lack of consistency. So it'll be interesting how this plays out over the course of time. I think one thing that we could agree on being on the tech side of this industry is we do lack across the board standardization, meaning when I say that salons in the middle or the wild west, they're everybody can make up whatever they want. They can call their service any name under the sun. They can
Yes.
charge it any which way. It's not like the banking industry where there's federal regulations or state regulations to follow these steps. So part of that's cool because we're creatives. Part of that is hurting us. What could owners do to move the needle and have a more stable, sustainable business model based on what you've noticed?
Well, I think you have two questions in there that I want to make sure that I answer. Okay. So I think the first one that you raised, the fact that there's so much inconsistency in service names. We are currently tracking over 300,000 different names for services. And like you say, a hairdresser somewhere, is going to create a Susan cut. And the Susan cut exists just because Susan is a $35 haircut. So instead of having a mid-length haircut and having a dynamic pricing that varies, but this is the cut that I am actually doing. It's a 45-minute haircut. So there's a consistency somewhere. This is my mid-length haircut, 45 minutes haircut. and I'm charging my price is $75. I'm just creating a product here, a service here, but Susan pays 35. So I have two options. Either Susan, I give her a discount, so I create a friend and family discount, and she is part of that discount. This is the reason why she's at 50% off. Or I change the price manually and I have a reason for the discount. So if you create this, then that transaction is traceable. If you create a Susan cut, you're just opening a new can of worm because anyone can book a Susan cut then. And now reporting for any type of trying to get industry report, what is a Susan cut?
Yep. It's hard.
You know, so how do I, because when we try to do reportings and trying to do analysis and benchmarks on what is the average price of a haircut in the Midwest, I don't know what Susan cut is. Is she a short hair, long hair, a mid-length hair? Is she a buzz cut? I don't know. I just know it's a Susan cut. So this is the example we get. We have 300,000 of those. The same thing with any different type of highlights and people being inconsistent with the spelling. Balayage probably come with 40 different spellings.
Wow.
So AI is helping us by recognizing that if it sounds like balayage, if it looks like it's a balayage, then it's a balayage. Okay. But how do you spell it? That you put it in 2 words, 3 words, with a Y, with a W, or whatever, whichever way. Now AI is helping us. But if not, if we would have a list of 40 different services that would go into the miscellaneous because they only exist in one salon.
Mm.
So now this is kind of like the way. So consistency is one thing, and making sure that you create the right structure into your software. I think this is one way because that's the only way also for their own reporting, for what they're looking at, to be able to actually look at your data, look at your numbers. You need to have consistency. And if you want to look at your retail or your services, to make sure that when you take a can of hairspray from the retail shelf to use it at your station, that it's transferred from retail to professional usage.
Yep.
Or same thing if you're doing skin, so you're out of one of the serum and then you decide to go take a retail serum to bring it into your cabin. So that retail serum is no longer available at retail, but it's still on your shelf, it's still in your stock, it's somewhere, and according to your accountant, you still own it, but it's not there. So it's money that doesn't exist in your business, but it's transferred now as a cost of service. It should be there because now you don't have it in your cost of service. So it's just like it's that consistency that's important. So that was your first question. I forgot your second question now.
Well, it's okay. It kind of prompted this thought because if I'm a salon owner listening and I want us to have an elevated business, standardized practices, consistency, all the things, what are you noticing from your Kim report about the best of the best? What do they have in common? That if everybody had these things in common, you would have a sustainable, thriving business for years to come. Because I think the gap between the best and the businesses that go out of business quicker, that is like increasing that gap.
Yeah.
So, what are you noticing among the best of the best?
So we don't see individual salons, like I said before. So
So, the
it's
categories
aggregated.
like, hey, I'm noticing the salons that have this many providers doing, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Based on, yeah.
So what we see is the 20 plus salons have actually increased their staff count, but have not really increased their volume at this point. So I like to hope that they're preparing themselves for they creating this opportunity for more clients by having more capacity. They're building capacity. So if that's really what they're doing, then it's great. But you have to make sure now that you build a capacity, you need to fill it. Okay. So that's like one aspect of it. And with the Kim report, starting in the with the month of April, we're going to start looking at because we first year we were looking only at averages. Now, since January, we're looking at median. So just to give the difference between the two, because I've explained it to so many people, I had to actually go back into my math from high school just to really be clear about the difference between the two. So the average, there's 100 salon. You take the total of all the salons and you divide by 100. So that's like your average. The median, you take 100 salon and you take salon number 50. So that's the one in the middle. This is the one that you report on. So of course, this what it teaches us. It's like how many people are above the middle and how many people are below the middle. So we have like a point in there. Now we're going to be adding a another view, which is the top 10%. Because we know the high performing salons, they are way above averages normally. So then you look at averages, it's kind of like disappointing because you look at that number and you're like, whatever, but so the number means absolutely nothing. So benchmarking yourself against the average very often is just like, why bother? So if you're looking at a top 10%, if you qualify, if you think I am in the top 10% or I want to be in the top 10%, and interestingly is I wrote for Canadian Hairdresser Magazine, the business column. I wrote 100 different articles, and the name of the article was The A-List. And the A-List was all about being the top of the top. So, what are the strategies and how do you actually put yourself into the A-list without defining what an A-list was because you could be an A-list in one thing and not be the A-list and then something else. So I
Sure.
think it was just about, how do you push yourself everywhere if you can. So this is the same, it will be same scenario. So how is the 10%, the top tip performing? So where are you versus these people and how can you actually improve as well? But it will still be a bit of an average. Like if I'm looking at my 20 plus service provider, my average is 28 service providers per salon if you want. But if you're a 75 service provider chair, you would have to look at, so what we look is like, okay, what's the average service provider inside of a 20 plus service provider
Mm,
salon?
yep.
So
That
that's
context
where
is everything.
exactly. So now it's like, oh, okay, in this type of salon, the average service provider roughly $6,000 a month in transactional revenue. So that's an average in there. So
Yep.
of course, the stylist who makes $300,000 a year, then you look at that number and you go, like, I do that on Wednesdays.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Well, okay,
yeah,
let me, as we're kind of nearing the end of our conversation, I'm
yeah.
curious what you feel about this because you've seen this from many different angles now. So fill in the blank. If this got better, we'd all get better as an industry.
I think if data entry got better, this is entirely, I mean, anytime it's garbage in, garbage out. So any type of reporting in anything that you're doing is like even if you're doing your home budget. So if you're not counting your coffees that you're buying at Starbucks, your budget is never going to balance. So I think is like if we want to have better benchmarks, we need to be very uh, uh, industrious or very precise about the data that we put in. So make sure that we create the right services, that we create the right product code, that we actually track everything. The way we track the entry, this is how we're going to have the output being right. That's where the industry could win a lot.
Well, and we
And
want
it's
that.
hard because
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is hard.
country of independent businesses.
Mhm. Yeah, there needs to be a collective effort on everybody's part and that's just so massive of an undertaking. It's like, where do you even start? But at least you are a pioneering and partaking in the start of it this is where it is starting. And thank you for being a part of that. Before we're done here, what would be some final words of encouragement or wisdom for salon and spa owners listening today?
Um, I think that even though the economy was a roller coaster in the last year, looking at the numbers, the salon industry is very resilient. And I think this is encouraging because even though there's less customers going to the salons, the industry has shown resilience. And so I think we know that people are going to continue going to salons. Is just find your market and make sure that you service them well and they want to come back. I mean, this is an industry where, you know, people find a hairdresser, find a colorist, find a nail technician, and they want to continue their services with that same person. So just make sure that you give them every single visit the service that they want, that they're looking for, that they know that they can get from you.
Beautifully said. And I just appreciate you so much. Elaine,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you for joining me here this week. I can't wait to see you in the coming months at some of these industry events.
Likewise. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us here week after week at Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, have an awesome day and stay strong.
Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.